Do you dream of writing a novel? When you feel the urgency to write a novel, you aren't making it up. When that urgency won't let go, there's a reason. Turn your readers into raving fans. Reveal the power of your voice and your story. Writing is an act of courage, and you have what it takes. How to Write a Novel That Sells by Lana McAra will take you across the finish line. Visit howtowriteanovelthatsells.net and take that powerful next step now.
Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
Are you fascinated by time travel? I am, and that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Lana McAra, and welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast, tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Today, my guest is Michael L. Clark, who's a historical fiction author. He lives in Pensacola, Florida, with his wife of 43 years. Began in writing while working full-time for the U.S. Postal Service, and then he became a full-time writer after he retired. Michael is the author of The Shimmering, a time travel story that explores lovers who are separated by 200 years. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's bad enough to be separated by 200 miles.
Yes.
200 years. Wow. Okay, so I'm real excited to dig into this. What was it that drew you to writing fiction in the first place?
I lived in the Middle Tennessee area for about 30 years, just a little town called Columbia, Tennessee, about 40 miles south of Nashville. My wife and I homeschooled our two daughters, and so one of the things that we would do during homeschooling was to travel to the Natchez Trace, which was very close to where we lived. It was very educational for the girls, and I've always been fascinated with history. It was especially struck by an exhibit up there called the Gordon House. It was the first federal brick-style house built in Tennessee, and it's still up there today. And I just loved reading the plaques about the different people that lived in that area, and I began to wonder what it would be like to go back in time and see how those people actually lived. And so it gave me an idea for a story that I mulled over for about 10 years, and finally decided I was going to write a story about it.
Very interesting. I used to live in Natchez. I lived in Natchez for 2 years. It's such a history-laden area,
Yeah.
like stuck in time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you take any courses or anything like that to get started?
I had one class in college many years ago. That was a creative writing course. I was terrible at it. And when I even started to write The Shimmering, I was very intimidated about whether or not I could do this. And one of the things that concerned me was writing dialogue between characters. And but when I found that once I got into it, it was very easy. That was actually the easiest part of writing, was to doing the dialogue. So, but I haven't had any real formal training as far as being a writer or a publisher. It's just the kind of thing that I've fumbled over through the years and learned as I go along.
I hear that a lot. And I have a writing course, and it's full of retired people. It's almost like everyone has these ideas, and then they wait until they have time to bring them forward. Now, for people who are listening in the audio, Michael has got some book covers on the wall behind him. So how many books have you written?
I have 6 published right now. I'm working on number 7.
Are they all historicals?
They all historical fiction.
And are they all set in that same location or different ones?
No. The Shimmering is a trilogy, and it's set there in the Natchez Trace. The book I wrote 4th is Ambush at Horse Creek, which you can see here. Ambush is based on the Pony Express. It's about a young man who grows up in St. Joseph, Missouri, and becomes a Pony Express rider. And then after that, I wrote The Red Raven, which is a pirate book. And it's going to be a 3-book series. Book 2 came out last month, which is called Raven's Destiny. And then the 3rd book will be coming out later this year.
Very, very interesting. So did you get a printer to create those covers for you to display?
My daughter does all my book covers. And yeah, she's very talented graphic artist who does not do it professionally. I keep trying to get her to do it because I think she could do very well at it. But she's raising my grandson right now, and that's all she's concerned about. So she does work for me, but she's not really willing to do anything for anyone else right now.
I have some children that are just like that too. We can inspire them all we want, but until they get the spark themselves, it's not going to do. You're not going to go anywhere. Yeah, yeah. So when you got your image from your daughter, then did you take it somewhere to get those printed, or are they paper, or are they on a plaque, or how is that?
These behind me?
Yes.
The image is just like the thumbnail you would use on Amazon, but these were blown up to 11 by 17s.
Okay.
And printed on photo paper, and then I framed them myself.
Okay. They're just eye-catching, and I love the way you have them displayed. I don't see that very often. That's why I'm bringing it to attention, because the writers watching are always looking for ideas about how to get their book covers out there. And that is one of the best situations I've seen with somebody coming on the podcast. So yeah, I'm really curious about all that. I have several titles myself, and I don't think they go on the curtain. I'd have to figure something else out.
Yeah, I have just a little spot here in our little house that I use for my office. My wife has a studio where she does her artwork. I do my writing over here on this wall, and so this wall is mine. I display all my book covers here. I have not yet put up Raven's Destiny. I need to still do that, but I'll do that pretty soon.
I'm in the corner of my spare bedroom and just have my lights set up, and I put up this curtain because my skin is so fair that if I had a white wall, which there's a white wall under there, but when I sat down to try to figure out the lighting, I just looked like a sheet of paper. I mean, it's just so right. So I had to darken, the background. So I hung up a curtain, and it's working. It's working. So if you're watching, and I just had somebody cancel their interview this just yesterday because they were so nervous about coming on camera, to say that we're not, in some high-class studio. We got a corner of a room. We've got a little setup. Nobody can see beyond what's in the camera, so whatever else is out there, nobody's looking at the boxes of books over there. And I have an easel set up for my art over here. It's not pretty or anything. It's just what it is, right? My spare bedroom.
That's right.
You don't have to have this elevated idea like we're on a television show or something. And you can still do a great job. So tell us a little bit more about the Shimmerings. How did this couple connect over 200 years apart?
Well, Daniel got separated from Emily because he went on a trail ride on the Natchez Trace with his best friend. They were up near the Gordon House exhibit on their horses, which is something a lot of people do up in that area. There's actual trails that you could go trail riding up on the trace. So he was up there riding around the Gordon House, and they accidentally found a time portal that sent them back in time 200 years. So when they ride back up to the Gordon House, it's actually being constructed at that time. And they meet Dolly Gordon, and she's the wife of John Gordon, who was a captain in the Tennessee militia, served under Andrew Jackson during the Seminole War and the War of 1812. And so he was gone from home a lot, and Dolly took care of the farm. But they built that brick house under his directions. They also ran a ferry that crossed the Duck River, which is a prominent river there in Tennessee. And so they ran the Duck River ferry in partnership with the Chickasaw Indian tribe. And Chief William Culver was the man who was in partnership with the Gordons as they ran that ferry. A lot of people don't realize that all the land there along the Natchez Trace was owned by the Chickasaw Indians, and they had an agreement with the U.S. government that they would allow a trail to be built through there so that merchants from the north could get their goods down to New Orleans. So they'd travel down this trail to get to Natchez, Mississippi, where they would put their goods on a ferry and take it up the Mississippi River into New Orleans from Natchez.
Yes, yeah. What year was that they went back to?
1817.
1817.
Yes.
Okay, so that was before the war, before the Civil War.
Oh, yes, much more.
Yeah.
Now, in book 3, the prophet, Daniel actually meets someone who traveled through the Shimmering to 1862, which would be Civil War. A man who was going to a battle reenactment at the Battle of Shiloh. And as he was driving down the Natchez Trace on his way to Shiloh, he had an accident and fell through the Shimmering and went back 100 years in time. And that's where Daniel meets him.
Wow, very cool. I just love that concept. They're slipping through the wormhole and they're going.
Yeah. And have no idea how they're going to get home.
Yeah, how do you get back? Yeah, exactly. So, this is a beautiful concept. When I was living in Natchez, I went and toured the antebellum homes, of course, who doesn't? And I found so many interesting things about that particular area of the country. It's almost like a little microcosm that is its own thing because it was on the river and had all these rich people living there, and 90% of the rich people were from the north. It came down as an investment to build these big houses and buy slaves. It was terrible, but that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then the war happened, and then everything changed, of course. But Natchez was not burned. Vicksburg was burned, and a lot of other towns on the Mississippi were burned, but Natchez was not burned. And so these houses are still there. They're still there. They're museums. Some of them have people living in them.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And then some of them were taken over by Northerners after the war too, who came in and grabbed them up after the Civil War had kind of wreaked havoc through that area.
Yes, and during the war, some of them were just taken over as campgrounds for the soldiers and all of this. But by that point, a lot of them were abandoned because the Northerners hightailed it back north and left their big mansion, sitting there with servants or something. So yeah, wow, there's so much to write about in that location. I never wrote a book set there because I just was in a the time of my life when it wasn't really conducive for me to be able to dig in. I did a lot of research and I had some plans, but it never materialized. So I'm
Yeah.
real excited to see that you are digging into the wealth of information there. That's really interesting to me. So, in your historical fiction, do you ever use any real characters?
Oh yeah, you'll see Davy Crockett pop up in the Shimmering. Daniel meets Davy Crockett. Daniel is a history buff. He actually was a school teacher at one time, taught history in high school, but became disenchanted with education and followed in his father's footsteps, and became a mail carrier instead. But he always had a love for history, and so while he was there at the Shimmering, he decided he wanted to do some research. He had questions, especially about the death of Meriwether Lewis. And if your listeners don't know who Meriwether Lewis was, he was one half of the Lewis and Clark Discovery Trail, as they were looking for a passage to the northwest. And so Meriwether Lewis became governor of Louisiana at one time, and he was taking a trip. He's going to go to Washington, D.C. to try to recover some of the money that he had spent and had not been reimbursed by the government. But on his way, he traveled the Natchez Trace, or it was known as the Natchez Trail at that time, and he stopped overnight at a stand. A stand is a place where you would stay overnight. It's kind of like an inn. People would rent out rooms from their house, or they would have extra cabins on their property or whatever that they would rent out. In this particular instance, there was an extra cabin on the property. And if you know anything about log cabins back then, a lot of them were built with a breezeway that went through the middle between two rooms. It was called a dog trot. And that's what style cabin this was. So he stayed in one side of the cabin, and that's where he was killed. And there's always been a debate as to whether he was murdered or whether he committed suicide. And so Daniel wanted to inspect the area and question the people living in that area, because he's in, at this time he's at 1818, and it was just 10 years ago that Meriwether Lewis was killed, and he thought he could get some more information about that. So while he's there, he ends up meeting Davy Crockett as he and his militia are traveling through the area.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. So you're telling me that you did a ton of research.
Oh, yeah. And of course, the Gordons are real, too. I did a video while I lived in Tennessee about John and Dolly Gordon. You could find that on YouTube if you want to, but they lived in that area, and their bodies were buried in Columbia in one of the cemeteries there. And so part of my video was going and trying to find their grave sites, which I did find them. And it was very interesting, very surreal to approach their graves after doing so much research about them and actually seeing where they were buried.
Yeah, it makes it so real when you're standing there knowing this, their body is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So what's coming up for you? Have you finished the series, the Shimmering series at this?
Shimmering series? Well, it has been finished for many years. I think I published The Prophet in 2022, and thought I was done with it. But I've had so many people say, we want more Daniel and Emily. Give us more Daniel and Emily.
Yeah.
So I'm toying with the idea of maybe putting in a fourth book in the series. Right now, I'm just trying to get the Red Raven series finished up. And I'm also looking at possibly doing a bit of a memoir I worked as a zookeeper for 2 years right after my wife and I got married, and there were so many things that happened that I think a lot of people would find fascinating with that job. So I'm thinking about doing a little memoir about the 2 years I worked with animals in the zoo.
Wow, that's very cool. I mean, you could even put it back in historical setting and
Yeah.
do the same thing. When I was early on, well, I shouldn't say early on. I had written, I think at that point, maybe 10 books or 12 books or something. And I got an idea for a modern day story that was really fun. And I had a collaborator who wanted to write it with me. And so it was a tech book with, a computer puzzle to solve and stuff. And I thought it was really awesome to do that. And so we wrote the book and it completely tanked. And the reason was I had jumped away from my historical audience into tech, which was very modern, and I lost my reader base.
Yeah.
So just a word of caution.
Yes.
It's okay to jump, but just realize that if you do that, you're going to be starting over,
Right.
with a brand new set of people who have no idea who you are. Yeah. Yeah. I find that very often with my students that author branding is something that people don't talk about a lot. And I did not practice very much in the beginning because I was so creative and I wanted to try this and try that.
Right.
But coming from this part of my career, now that I've written 46 and watched, the trends and stuff, I realize that it's very important if you found a sweet spot to at least find a way to reel it in,
Right.
to stay consistent, because otherwise you're basically starting a brand new business.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's why so many authors these days write under several different pen names. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, this has been amazing. I'm so glad that we connected. Your books fascinate me as a historical writer myself. Now I'm writing more contemporary books. I've changed my name and all that, what you said. But I still have a heart for the history. I really do.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm very happy to have met you. All the best on your book launch. And when you get your new book out, don't forget to contact me and, we'll do another interview.
Wonderful.
So yes, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Lana.
And thank you for being with us today. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.